Well, there's so many. I mean, first there's just the sheer length of the thing, right? It's an enormous book, right? It's just 66 different books and thousands of pages. It's an enormous book to make your way through. And then once you even account for the length of it, you have the problem that the books themselves are not in any sort of narrative order for the most part. So, for example, you have at the very end of the Old Testament in our English Bibles this kind of just gloopy set of 12 minor prophets, and basically we have, as readers generally no idea what we're reading about. Like, when was Amos prophesying and what's going on? And it's just very hard to keep the thread. So one of the things that we're trying to do with the Story of Redemption Bible is take those minor prophets, for instance, and put them in their place in the narrative. So we'll be reading through 2 Kings together, for instance, and come to the place, the king, to whom, for example, Amos was actually prophesying, and I'll send you then to go read Amos in his context, and then when we finish Amos, we'll bounce back and pick up the thread of 2 Kings until we come to the next minor prophet. So it's amazing, though, even as I was writing the material for it, how much in my own mind the story kind of came together, because whereas if you're reading Amos as one of 12 prophets at the end of the Old Testament, you just kind of miss him. But when you recognize, oh my goodness, Amos is actually preaching while this stuff is going on in 2 Kings, his book just goes 3D, because you start to see you see him preaching against the very things that you were just reading about in 2 Kings. So it's incredible to see all of that taking place. And the same thing happens, honestly, with Paul's letters in the New Testament. So instead of reading them just in their canonical order from longest to shortest, what we try to do is read his letters in the narrative of the book of Acts when he actually wrote them. And if you do that, you can see this amazing narrative taking place of this 4-year fight that he had going on with the church in Corinth, and some interpersonal conflicts between him and Timothy, and then Titus coming in to make things even more difficult. So the story just goes 3D if you read it in the order of the narrative, and that's what we try to help you do.